Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. It's John with Project Watch Pro. And in this quick video, I just want to give you a little bit of insight as to the real-time data and the KPIs that you get from the software itself. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to go into a project and we're going to clock some employees into a project, and then we're going to take a look to see exactly what takes place. So right now we're at the home screen uh, of the Project Watch Pro. You can see some of the KPIs uh, that you have available to you, the number of active jobs, the value of those active jobs that comes from either the quote or from when you set up the project itself. If you're not quoting it, you can estimate the value of the jobs. What is the efficiency rate? Basically, the system tracks the employee's tasks and whether those tasks are billable or non-billable, and I will give you an efficiency rate and the profit margin. So this would be how much you're invoicing the client versus what the actual costs are. So you can see that we have a healthy profit margin right at the moment of 32.13%. That's definitely a nice profit margin. So that would factor in the actual costs of the projects and the what the quote or the charge out or the invoice amount would be. And it gave us a 32% profit margin. So what we're going to get into is actually showing you the real-time KPIs on a very specific project. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is I need to clock into a project. So I'm actually going to do that. I have my phone set up here and I'm going to clock one employee in through my phone and watch how I do that. And then I'm going to clock some other employees in through the admin panel here. But first thing I need to do is figure out what project we're going to go on because I have so many projects. I just want to make sure that we're going on one that is easily tracked. So this one here, I don't like that one. Let's go on one where there's zero. So this is Alex Thornton's skidded package, project 366.2. Okay, perfect. 366.2. All right, so you can now see my phone and what we do to this is what the employees would see. So each employee has their own login to the app on the phone, whether it be Android or Apple, and they would clock in and out of jobs and tasks using their phone. If they do not wish to use a phone, we have a kiosk app for either an iPad or a Android tablet that you can use, and then they would just punch in their code and it knows that it's them. They clock into a job, the task, and as soon as they finish clocking into that job, it takes it back to the security login where the next person will come and just enter their code. Okay. But with the phone, you're logged in with your email and passcode. So we just click on the logo and that brings up the jobs. And what job? It was a skidded package. I believe it was, yes, Alex Thornton's skidded package. And these are the tasks. Now, because this is my test environment, and I was doing a presentation for somebody at where they do drug and alcohol testing. So that's why you notice I have all of these tasks as medical testing. So let's just go into, we're going to say that we're going to prep it for prime. This is for a sandblasting and painting, and just hit start. And you can see it takes me back to the home screen for the phone. So now as this employee, I am actually logged in. So let's go back to the admin panel. So now if we go and click on who's working now, we should see that, oh, that's me, Derek. Well, that's the who I'm clocked in as. Derek Howe is clocked into the skidded package 3661. But I want to clock some more people in. So as the admin, I can just clock people in from here. I'll pick Allison Hart and the skidded package. And I believe we were doing prep for prime, just confirm. Oh, I could have clocked a few people in at the same time. What was I thinking? All right, we'll clock all these people in to the skidded package, and everyone's prepped for prime. The tasks are whatever each company gets to set up their own tasks, or I work with you and we decide what tasks you want to set up, whether they're billable or non-billable. So these are just the ones, like I said, this is my test environment. So I have several tasks for different industries in here. All right, so it looks like we have 5 people on board right now. So let's go back to the home page. I just click the logo to back to the home page. Okay, so and then we're going to go to, we want to look at that individual project. So let's click on the active project dashboard. This brings up all of the active jobs. No, we were here already. And oh, here's the one that I'm clocked into. You can see it actually shows you when employees are clocked into a task because they have a little circle and their initials. And you can see that we're already at a charge out of $122.92 because I have 5 people on this job. That's only one, it was 1 hour and one, yeah, 1 hour. So you can see it just turned red, which means we're already over budget because the actual estimated hours was 1 and the actual is 1 hour and 1 minute. So we just went over budget. Okay. So you can see that it's actually calculating this in real time. So let's actually, if you want to go in and look at the details of any given project, this is just sort of a summary. So obviously you like to see everything nice and green, but if it's red, that means that you're over budget somewhere. Either your hours are over budget or your dollar value is over budget. Okay, because the estimate is based on the quote or the project when you enter the project, and the charge out is based on the task charge out, whether you have a shop rate or task, you have different rates. We're not quite sure. So let's go into here. Oh my goodness, we are just killing it with overtime. So you can see the overtime cost and the regular time cost, the overtime hours, the regular time hours. So I'm not exactly sure. I must have had selected a job where it was already had time on it, and now we're just pushing it over into overtime. So you can see that this actually just refreshed again. So every 60 seconds, we're seeing this in real time. It's actually calculating the costs in real time. And this, as far to my knowledge, there is no other system out there that is calculating costs like this in real time, because the cost is not just the wages of the employee. You can see in the quote, we have you can estimate your labor, your materials, any expenses or third-party costs. The charge out is basically the time for the employee and the task rate. So you may just have one shop rate of say $150 an hour. Doesn't matter what they're doing, it charges out $150 an hour. Or let's say, for example, you have a welding shop and you charge out welding at $225 an hour, and then maybe you charge out grinding at $175 an hour, and then you charge out cutting at $100 an hour, for example. So you would want those charge outs to be different for whenever your employees are doing that particular task. Okay. And then the cost, the actual cost of the company is being calculated. That's the employee's wage. The labor burden rate for that employee is calculated and updated every day. And then the overhead burden rate is also calculated and updated every single day. Okay. So that is what's going into the cost, the labor cost for the employees. Also, if they have shift premium and they hit overtime, then all of that gets factored in here as well. So you can see that you're in this one example, I picked a bad example, but we're actually, their costs are killing us. We only have 1 hour to do this, and now we're already well over the 1 hour. So this is just wanted to give you a quick insight as to the KPIs in real time. So the the companies that is already using Project Watch Pro, they spend the majority of their time on this screen. The supervisors will spend a lot of time on this screen. They're seeing who's working on what task. Are they on the task they should be on? They'll go to here and check, okay, what are they actually clocked into right at the moment? And then they'll get, if there's one task in the shop, or maybe they have two or three going, or one job or two or three going on, then they'll click on the jobs and find out, okay, well, what's going on? Why are these numbers so high? And then they might want to dig a little deeper and go into some of the reports. So these here just pop up, what's the work description? Is there any notes pertaining to this particular job? What were the estimates that were entered? You can see there was only 1 hour of handling. And what the materials? There's no materials. Okay. And then these here are the actual reports, the time summary report. So this would be who was actually, who was already working on this. You can see that Jeremiah Ramirez had time on this, 58 minutes specifically. So that's why I selected a job where we had time on it already. So that's just a little insight to the KPIs, and this is getting updated as employees are clocked into a job. It's getting updated every 60 seconds, and you can see that in that screen, as well as you can see it in the dashboard here, the active project dashboard. You can see this is going up in real time. And you can see that obviously this is red because we're over budget. We're at 148% of the hours and 148% of the dollar value as well is over budget. Okay. So let's go and it's going to go, and I'm going to clock everybody out. Mass clock out. All good. There we go. And that is just a little insight as to the KPIs when it comes to looking at a very specific project and analyzing it to to see what's actually going on with that particular project, and trying to making sure that you're staying within your budget with respect to the hours, but also staying within budget with respect to the dollar value. Because what ends up happening is a lot of companies think that, oh, as long as the hours stay within budget, then they're going to be fine on the dollars. And that's generally not the case, because 1 hour, because not all hours are equal. So if you have a lower waged employee doing a task, and then you have a very high wage individual that has a specific skill set doing that task, and then that individual is now working in overtime, then the cost to the company may be to a point where they're actually losing money on the charge out. If it's a charge out of, 100 or $125 an hour for the charge out of that particular task that the employee is doing, well, that's great if you're, only a $20 an hour employee, $25 an hour employee. And with the labor burden and the overhead burden, and even if they are in overtime, they're still going to give you a margin of, anywhere from 15 to 30% on there. But if you've got a 35 to $40 an hour person, and you start adding in the labor burden, the overhead burden, and then put them into overtime, now the cost to the company for that employee may be upwards of 135, 140 an hour, but you're only charging out 125 an hour. So obviously not every individual is the same. So keeping an eye on these is very important. And as far as I know, with this, my software is the only one out there that actually does these calculations to help you keep an eye on your KPIs and keep an eye on your project in real time, so that you'll be able to see if you're getting close to the hours or close to your budget, to dig a little deeper and find out specifically what's going on with your project. Okay, so that is a little bit about the real time, and I'll come back to with some other videos to give you a little bit more insight into the software itself. All right, so thanks for joining, and I'll catch up with you next time.